Hi, I'm Ella McCrystal, and this is The New Mind. Today's guest is Troy Townsend. Now, I invited Troy on because we have a mutual friend, and the more I sort of follow Troy's posts on Instagram predominantly, the more I realised Troy had a really engaging story. And many of you will know that this podcast is all about stories and people really, and about how we can connect to each other through those stories. But some of you may know Troy because of his work with Kick It Out. He is head of player engagement there, so quite heavily involved in the football world. So those of you that are football fans will know Troy. But we're not going to talk exclusively about football, although it will come into it. It's more about Troy as a person and his stories. And I know you're going to love this episode. So welcome, Troy.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
You're welcome.
I'm not sure I've got a story to tell with everybody, but yeah, let's hope that I can keep them engaged.
I think you have.
Yeah.
I mean, I reached out, and I don't think everybody would assume that, I would be a massive football fan. And as you know, I'm a glory hunter.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You're not really a football fan. You're just a glory hunter. So, yeah, we'll accept that for now.
But again, you wouldn't necessarily think, this is someone that would reach out to Troy Townsend. But actually, there's a lot, and we've been speaking quite a lot today, but there's a lot of insights that you can share as well, which I think is really important. The narrative. And I think you have got some personal stories which will be of interest to people.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna take your word for that.
Well, I genuinely find you very interesting.
Thank you.
So Troy, as I mentioned there, you're quite heavily involved in football, in player engagement particularly. But I kind of wanted to know a little bit about you more so, and where your journey with football starts. So let's go back to little Troy.
Do you know, I don't remember a lot about my childhood.
Really?
No, I don't remember a lot about my childhood at all. Dad left very early. So I was born in East London, Hackney.
Yeah.
Anyone that knows East London and knows the Mother's Hospital in Hackney, it was the place where it just seemed that every time I bumped into someone, that's where they were born.
Yeah.
I think we only stayed in Hackney for about 3 or 4 years, but my childhood is actually a blur away from football. Why was it a blur? Because I had no father figure. I'm just going to say my mum was quite feisty. I don't remember enjoying times with mum. It's not nice, but
was you on your own? Or
I'm the youngest, so my older brother Mark is 4.5 years older than me. But yeah, honestly, so look, I'm blank. I don't remember much. But when you put the football at my feet, then I come alive, and I think that's what my childhood was all about. Is once I got hold of that round thing, it was just to kick it everywhere I could. And that's where, again, my dad is not really a football fan as such. I'm going to label him a little bit of a glory hunter as well. So, I didn't get it from him, that's for sure. My brother liked his football and was a decent player. Still say I was better than him, but yeah, I'm trying to find out where my influences came from around football and sport, really, because I was a really sporty child.
Yeah.
I remember, this is going to give my age away so much. I remember watching the 1970 World Cup.
1970, Troy?
Yes, Ella, yes, 1970, yeah? That's a very long time ago, I know.
Wow.
When TVs were still black and white, by the way.
How old were you then, Troy?
Oh, come on. It's actually my birthday on Tuesday.
Wow. I mean, if I'd have known, I'd have got you more than mini cheddars and a grenade bar.
I was gonna bring the mini cheddars into this conversation, but you've done it already. I was 5. Or nearly 5.
Nearly 5.
So everyone does their maths now. Yeah, I'm old.
Wow.
And you know what? We weren't really allowed to watch the telly. The World Cup was in Mexico, so the highlights were always on at, I think, 7 or 8 o'clock from what I can remember. And that was bedtime.
Yeah.
But what I used to do was, our kitchen was behind the front room. So you'd have the front room. So you'd have I'm trying to describe my old house and I can do it really well. I can visually see it. Walk through the front door. You'd have a passageway, stairs going up to the bedrooms, into the front room, kitchen at the back.
Yeah.
You can visualize that now,
Yeah.
can't you?
Yeah.
And my mum, obviously, I say obviously, why is that obvious? But used to spend, because just after dinner, it's go and get washed, get up to bed. And obviously she's washing up, cleaning up and everything. So what I used to do is I used to leave the door open in the front room and then go up to bed and switch the telly onto the football channel so that I knew when it was coming on. I used to creep back down the stairs and just watch through the cracks. I couldn't go in totally, but just watch through the crack.
Oh, wow.
And Brazil were the team that caught my eye.
Yeah.
And I've been a Brazilian fan ever since. And they won that World Cup. And the famous player that wore the number 10 was Pele. Number 10 was a number that I always wanted to be associated with. So going through my footballing journey, the number 10 was always on my back. And if someone took it off me, I would get upset. But everyone kind of knew, you know. So it was from then that I realised that I just loved what this game could do. They played the game in a different way, the Brazilians, and they seemed to be enjoying themselves every time they kicked the ball.
Yeah. More like a dance.
Absolutely. I kind of look at them and say the Brazilians are the Harlem Globetrotters of football, you know?
Yeah.
And I love the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I wanted to replicate what they were and bring it into my school environment, or when I played in the street, because you could do that then, with my friends. And my school friends were all around where we used to live. When I got to Walthamstow was where we went after Hackney. And I just remember being this free-spirited child who you gave a ball to and you can ask him any question you want. Take the ball away and he becomes a little bit shy and a little bit withdrawn, a little bit within himself, you know.
So interesting.
I even say I'm shy now and everyone starts laughing, but like you've just done there. But yeah, I wasn't the same boy. I wasn't the same boy. And I think that drain of confidence was from the household that I was living in.
Yeah.
I've probably never said that before, but it's something that I highlight more and more, is that, yeah, I didn't really get a family feel at home.
Did you not feel nurtured and loved? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
It's quite tough then.
I didn't know it. So it's not something that I would have said I was conscious of when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I'm just a child who was growing up, you know, and like the simple things, you know, the toys, the West Indian dinners we used to have, which mum never really put enough on my plate. So I was always like, but football was the thing where I grew. And so if you've got two personalities, there's one. There's the personality at home and there's the shy personality and the confident personality.
Like a showman. Almost.
I wouldn't have said that then, but I can understand why you say that now. And, you know, joining school teams and very quickly became the captain, and I was like the focal point of my school and my upbringing. We won our first league, and you know, I'm the captain. I've got the number 10 on my back. I've influenced the school teacher to get a new kit, and that new kit was in the colours of Brazil.
Wow.
You know, it was you know, my remembering my school time was amazing. Remembering my football journey within that, because it was all I was really interested in, was also amazing. Then I remember this, you know, throughout the years from young to old, was my dad or my mum never ever watched me play football, never ever watched me play in the one thing that I really excelled at.
Wow.
So apparently I was good at maths. So when I was at school, I could put figures together and numbers, whatever they are now. But I didn't care about that. I didn't care about being good there. I cared about going out into the school playground and making sure that I won the lunchtime game, the break game, the game after school. And then obviously when we've got a school game, you know, I felt so much pride about playing for my school and captaining my school and again, enjoying the game, you know. And I suppose, yeah, the younger part of my years was just all around enjoyment, happiness, football. And then the home was totally opposite to all of that.
That's really interesting, because it feels like you found your identity through football.
I talk about, in my own work, I talk about identity a lot. And I wouldn't want anyone to be wrapped up in an identity that just says football.
Correct.
But actually, you're spot on.
Yeah.
That was my identity. That's who I was. That's who I wanted to be. That's how I wanted to live my life.
Yeah.
Was through this sport that I had no negativity from, you know.
Yeah.
You'd lose a game, the odd one game, and of course you're disappointed, but you get an opportunity to put it right the next game, you know.
It's a drive.
Yeah. So football was never, ever negative for me. It was only positive. And like I said, I actually thought that I would then live the dream as a player, professional player, and everything that would bring, because people are also saying, you can play, you're good. So I had no negative comments about my football, only positive.
You were completely validated in football.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so when you say identity, yes, I have to wrap my identity around it. He was, you know, he's the best player in the school, although if my school friends listen to this, they might say something different. He was the best player in his school. He became one of the best players in the borough. He played for the district. He, you know, all this buzz, and then clubs start to come in for you. All this buzz is around Troy Townsend, this little lad from Waltham Forest, who actually has a different identity when he closes the door at home from a very early age.
How did you cope with that?
I can't tell you.
Because it was just blanked out, like you say.
I can't tell you.
You just kind of disappeared into a different world.
Yeah, totally different world.
That's such a shame, though, to think of, like, because you just said there that identity should never be attached only to football. But what if that's all you've got?
Well, it was all I had.
Yeah.
So actually, it was a positive. But I suppose because of my learnings as I've grown older and been more involved in the game away from the playing side of it, I wouldn't want anyone to just say I'm a footballer. I have nothing else in my life.
Yes, because you could see the detrimental effect of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're right. It was just wrapped up in football, but I didn't know. So I actually thought being at home and being shy and not really contributing to conversations and was the norm, because that's what you're living.
Yeah.
And obviously a one-parent family was the norm.
Yeah.
Didn't speak to my dad for a very long time, didn't really visit, didn't really play a part in our upbringing.
No.
And yeah, I reflect on it now and just think I wish I had a normal family life. I didn't know what a normal family life was.
So important.
Yeah.
It's so important. And I think, like you said there, you don't know when you're that age because it's all you know.
Yeah.
And then it's only when you get a bit older and you look at other people's families and you go, I wish I'd have had that.
Well, my friends, I won't say their last names, but Gary, Kevin, Franklin down the bottom of the road. I'm just trying to remember where they all lived. But they did. They had two parents.
Did you go to their houses?
Yeah, I would go to their houses. So you visibly see it.
Yeah.
And visibly see that it was different than mine.
Yeah.
But I had no one to question that with either. So I had no one to say, how comes Gary, like, do you know what I mean? Or how comes
Kevin?
So you
internalized it then?
Yeah, absolutely.
What did internalizing that do to you then?
Well, it made me acknowledge that we were different to my friends. It's as simple as that. I can't say it weighed heavily because
at the time.
Yeah, because remember, even Gary, like, we'd get a ball and we'd go and play football against the wall. We had the end of my road was, you know, there's old house, big wall at the end. You know, we just kick a ball, or we'd play cricket, so childhood was still fun
because you escaped it by doing things you loved.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was fun, and that's why I say I can remember those bits. Those bits were important because they made me smile. But I can't remember the bits behind the closed doors because obviously I wasn't smiling a lot.
No.
So yeah. That's
obviously something to do with personality as well, because I think if you're encouraged to talk, which a lot of people are now, obviously I know this because it's the job I do. If you're encouraged to talk, then you get the opportunity to explore beyond.
Explore, express.
Yeah, explore, express. And again, it is one of the reasons I asked you to come on, because I think in terms of representation, Troy, there's not many people talking honestly about anything because there's not the space to do it.
Yeah.
You know, people of colour, I'm talking about specifically.
Yeah.
And there's not, and I said to you earlier, didn't I, that there's not a lot of people of colour in terms of therapists or coaches. There are some.
Yeah.
And on this podcast, I will make sure that there's links to where people can find it. but there's not a lot of opportunity for people to see or hear a person talking about anything emotional, mindset, or otherwise. And I know that you've been doing that more and more recently, but even just listening to you talk there about, you know, even as a little boy, you kind of had to, well, put all of your joy into sport, which is great.
I was happy to do so.
You were
by the
happy
way,
to
as
do
well.
so,
Yeah,
yeah. And it is great that you had that. But what if you didn't? And then this is where it's important to delve into those areas, to explore those areas, because there'll be people that just aren't naturally good at sport, and they might go to academics or creativity in some way instead. But it's important, I think, to acknowledge that the way the brain adapts around those experiences, because when we don't have that opportunity to explore or to express, we adapt, and we adapt in terms of maladaptive behaviors and thought patterns. So that's just an interesting point to make for anyone listening who maybe not have ever really explored their own childhood.
But again, I mean, you said you have more and more recently, and obviously I've connected, so people are now going, like, he's got to be around this age, like, you know. But it has been only recently as well, and obviously a lot has happened in my life.
Yes.
But it has been, I don't know, last 5 or 6 years where I've found is it confidence? I don't know.
I think maybe
confidence
to speak,
about my experiences and understand a little bit more as well as to what may have been, what was, and what could be. You know? Yeah.
I mean, I think you're quite formidable, really, considering that time.
I've never heard that word used next to Troy Townsend. Never.
There is a first for everything.
Absolutely. I might stick with that one as well. I'm formidable. Brilliant.
She said that.
I never said it, and I don't even know what it means next to my name, but yeah. No, that's amazing.
You are. And I think you, obviously the work that you do, I know we don't want to talk too much about that, but the work that you do is really important because you are a truth teller. And within the truth telling, there's always stories.
Yeah.
But also you've had some like quite painful experiences in your life as well.
I have. And
like you say, you're only just starting to talk and maybe explore your own mind and your own heart, and I just think that takes so much courage. I think courage, you supposed to say confidence then, but it does take a lot of courage, because you won't have seen many people talking about the things that you're talking about right now. And you are somebody that really speaks up for other people as well, and you do it really well. And I've got a lot of respect for you for doing that, because I think that's your life's work now. And it's so important. It's just so important to do that work. And although it might feel sometimes like you don't see the fruits of your labor, it will have an effect. Definitely I know not everyone thinks of, or even wants to hear someone say this, but it will leave some very important legacy. But what you're doing today and what you've done on other podcasts as well is just as important in my eyes.
Never really appreciated it. Never really thought that little old me speaking up about some of my experiences, which I'm sure we probably touch on, would ever have an impact on anybody else.
No.
So being a little bit selfish there. I don't know if that's right. Again, I question myself quite a lot. I question, one, who would want to listen? Two, what's so good about, not good,
important.
What's so important about your storytelling? You know, what is significant about it? How would it relate to anybody else? And who will it empower? You know, I've thought about those from the first time I didn't speak publicly first about my experiences. I kept jotting what was going on up there, which was a mix of all the emotions you could want to imagine, all rumbled up into a ball. And you kind of, you know, a paper ball, and you kind of try and open the paper and try and make sense of it all. So I've said already, I didn't excel at all in school. You know, once the football dream was over, I went to school. I continued to go to school to play bar football, because there was a bar football in the sports, in the, I don't know what they call it, the sports room. And I didn't care. I lost all feeling and emotion around school, you know, but that's where my friends were.
Yeah.
So did I bunk? Yeah, I bunked school quite a lot, but I also turned up to school because my friends were there and I wanted to still be around them, you know. So I didn't leave with anything, you know. You know them days when, you know, the exam results are coming around in August, they were, and everyone trudges to school. I was watching them out of my window in the house because I knew that there was no point me turning up. A lot of the exams I didn't turn up. I didn't do any kind of revision at all.
And at this point, you say the football dream had kind of...
The football dream is now sliding.
Right.
So I was at Millwall at the age of 14. I stayed a year at Millwall. I spent 6 months so I'm an August birthday. So I'm a younger one at the whole cohort.
Of course you are, yeah.
I went to Crystal Palace for 6 months. It just didn't work out. And from there, because I didn't have guidance support from my family, from people inside the game to say, actually, Troy, there's 90 other clubs out there that you potentially could have gone to if you're that good.
Yeah.
I just dropped out of the game.
Would you say that you had quite a low mood at that point? I mean, you said you weren't really engaged in school.
Mood was crazy.
I was going to say, because it was your life.
Yeah, mood was crazy. I didn't know what was going on, really.
So you're quite depressed.
But I could never have I wouldn't know what depression was.
Well, no, because no one spoke about it then, you see.
Yeah. So I didn't know. I identify it now.
Yeah.
You know, but the game of football, what it does, no matter what age group you're running through, it puts you on this platform. If you're good, you're on a platform.
Yeah.
And that platform is quite high, by the way.
Long way to fall.
Supersedes everything else.
Yeah.
And then when you're no longer that, so let's go back to that identity, when you're no longer attached to a club, people then look at you and think, do you know what I mean? And they look at you, I don't know if they do it on purpose, but it's what I saw.
Yeah.
It's what I saw, is that people were looking at me differently and treating me differently. So I just went to take myself out of the judgment zone, you know?
Yeah. And
stay at home more, not be so outward going.
At home where you weren't particularly...
Where by then, with this particular time now, my mum has been diagnosed with depression and mental health problems. So she's not working no more. She's at home all the time.
Wow.
She's in a dark room all the time.
Oh my gosh.
We couldn't even go in the room. And the room actually is the pathway. Remember what I said? Pathway to the kitchen.
Yes.
Pathway to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what was going on either. So I didn't know what she just changed dramatically.
So you didn't even know she'd got this illness?
Didn't know. And she changed dramatically. And I don't know what's going on in my own house. I don't know what's going on. And then we get to a time when she tried to kill us both by setting the house on fire.
Wow. So did she have psychosis as well?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna say yes.
Based off that, yeah.
I'm gonna say yes.
So you and your brother?
My brother wasn't in.
Oh, your brother wasn't in. So just you?
Just me.
Oh, my life.
And she set her bedroom alight. And the bedroom is literally, with the stairs, it's me to you almost. So whatever catches a light there is going to very quickly catch a light.
Wow.
Into mine. And
how old are you at this point, Troy?
I think I'm around 14, 15. I know I was still going to school.
Oh my gosh.
I'll never forget my friends saying they could see, obviously, so what it did, it did the top bedroom, her bedroom, which was facing out onto the road. So they could see, I think it was a Saturday night. I'm trying to vaguely remember, but obviously they could see that there was a fire.
Oh my gosh.
And there's all these, because my road, by the way, is on the walkway to the school.
Right.
So that's why everyone, anyone that is walking down that road will look at Troy's house, because Troy's house is the one that people know and know that something's happened, But I only had it confirmed, and this is crazy. I didn't know I don't know. I only had it confirmed. My dad, who now lives in the US, confirmed it last year when he came.
Last year?
If I can't tell you how dysfunctional my family is.
Wow.
But we were talking very honestly and openly. me, my brother and my dad for the first time ever. And it was the first time I'd ever told him that he failed me as a parent. And my brother, but, you know, my brother, he can talk his own things. I was talking, he failed me as a parent. To which he said he didn't. Put some context on it. Who do you think kept the electricity going in your house? Who do you think, whatever else it is to do as a parent, you know, the things that we take for the norm in terms of paying electric, gas, whatever it may be. He said he did it all, and he did it all for us. But I can't see that. That's not visible to me.
No.
All I know is that you was not around
for
me.
He wasn't physically present.
But he said that's what he did. And I went, okay, that's not enough, but okay. And he said, do you remember when your mum tried to kill you? I went, what? Do you remember the fire? And of course I remember the fire. I was in there. But she was trying to kill you and her. Mark wasn't there. No, I know Mark wasn't there. But she tried to kill you. And it was the first time that I could contemplate what that was, you know.
Yeah.
It's actually better that he... This is going to sound so crazy. It's actually better that he told me then. Because of an unexplained story for this podcast so far.
Yes.
Because I also wanted to take my own life later on, you know, in my life. So I could almost handle it. I still cried. We're in the middle of King's Cross Station, by the way. I still cried. But actually, it was better him telling me then than what it would have been if I knew at the time, or, I don't know, 10 years later. So now we're talking 45, 50 years on. And I realised that my mum, I've got no connection with my mum. We're so disconnected, it's unbelievable. And we have been from before that period of time, by the way. And like I said about my childhood, but to actually know that your mother, who you are disconnected with, but actually she wanted to kill you, as part of her wanting to end her own life, you know, it didn't matter who she took out. Yes,
that's mind blowing, by the way.
Tough to contemplate.
That is really tough to contemplate. And just to, I did not know this part of your story.
Oh no, you didn't. So
I mean, first of all, to be vulnerable and authentic in this way is just so powerful. And I know that there's going to be people out there that really, you know, I have a disconnected relationship with my mum. And I think sometimes it's quite comforting. And I know this sounds in a way quite sadistic, but it's quite comforting to know you're not the only one that has that. And that's why I think it's so important to share the stories, because we go, oh, it's not necessarily because I'm not enough that happened to me. It's something that is far more complex than most of us are ever able to comprehend. And just understanding that your mum was diagnosed with depression and that she had serious mental health issues, and it may well have been psychosis. It may well have not been her true essence. It may well have been something quite complex going on in her brain that she wasn't in control of, that led to that series of events. However, for you as a person, that's just heartbreaking. You know, whichever way you try and dress that up with an explanation, it's still heartbreaking. And it does, the way the brain develops and the pathways develop, it has an impact, and a serious impact.
I always say I grew up despite my parents, not because of my parents.
Yes, and you did.
You know, so whatever I've done in life, people talk about it quite a lot. I don't give myself enough praise, but
yeah, you don't.
I've done it despite my parents.
1 million trillion %.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
Because one of the things, I started my own football academy, you know, it's the thing that energized me again, was making sure parents were involved all the time in what their children do. So it's a direct impact.
Direct impact.
I've even had to call parents out. Why have you not come to the game today? You know, this is a space where your child is excelling. You think he's a naughty boy in school. Why don't you see him in his element? I remember this one family who got 4 other siblings. Mum and dad all came to one. That's all I asked them to do, was come to one game, see him in a different light, and they did. I remember Dad speaking to me probably a couple of days afterwards, because I also worked in the school. I was a PE teacher in the school that was at. I treat my son differently now. because they saw him excel. They saw him with a poise. They saw him with a dominance. They saw him with an attitude that wasn't an attitude that was defined by the school. It was defined by the culture of the environment that he was playing in.
Yeah.
And they looked at him different, and they were so, I could see them bursting with pride. Such a great lad, such a great player. And they were looking at him as that. They were not judging him on what the school had said. You know, he's a naughty child. He can't get on with other children. No, they were judging him. And that's all I wanted my parents to do.
Yes, to see you.
To see me excel, where I smile, where I sit, where I have joy, where I conduct, where I lead, that's all I wanted them to see.
All the best versions of you.
All the best versions.
And that's all any child ever needs, is to be seen, to be heard.
Affirmation, isn't it?
It is affirmation. It's the fundamental thing that we need. We need just safety, psychological safety and love.
Yeah.
If you can provide a child with that, the rest of it, you know, is not as important.
Yeah.
And that's what you were providing for those kids. You were calling their parents to see that.
Come and see them.
Yeah.
Come and see them, you know. All right, you lose 3 hours of your day because you've got to travel and you've got to watch. That's probably the best 3 hours you'll spend with your child.
Hands down.
Right.
How phenomenal. Because there are a lot of kids that are really passionate about their sports, as you know, that the parents just don't get it. They don't care.
There's two things. They either don't get it, don't invest in it, or they try and dominate it.
Yes, that's very true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, control
And that's not
it.
a good experience either.
No.
Because the child is, and I hate to use this term, but I'll talk in football terms, the child is the commodity.
Yeah.
The child is the reason why actually you're there watching.
Sure.
Because of their excellence, their brilliance in this field that someone wants them to play for them.
Yeah.
But then a lot of children have that taken away from them by the dominance of their own parents.
And they end up hating it as well, don't they?
It's that.
Because it becomes almost quite coercive, actually.
That. Yeah, it's that.
Which is such a shame because they lose the love for something that they're naturally good at.
That word, love.
Yeah.
How many times do I say to players, do you really love the game? Like, yes, I do. Do you really love it? I was infatuated by it.
Yeah, obsessed.
Yeah. You know, to a point where maybe it's a little bit uncontrollable, you know, but it got me. It just got me. And I would have liked someone to have shared that with, particularly when I was younger.
Yeah. But what you went on and did, which is amazing, magical, is that you provided that for other children. Because you could have become quite bitter.
I think I was for a period. One of the best things that I ever did, and it wasn't my thought process, it was a coach that used to coach me, said, go and take your coaching badge. I was only 19. I thought he was trying to retire me. I'm saying, I'm 19. I can still play, you know. He went, no, but it will benefit you. And it's one of the best things I ever did because it enabled me to connect with young people.
Yeah.
It enabled me to talk about the game in a way that I'd never spoken about before. Understand coaching, understand how to get points across, understand how to manage and you know, all of that kind of stuff. Plus with my own experience, and I had some great people manage me, I then started my own football academy to embrace all these young children who actually were very similar to me.
Yeah.
Talent, ability, know-how, love, but we're missing love, confidence at home, and all those other little things that I described. They were missing those. So I brought them into my environment to do that. And some of the best years of my life was watching my own team play football. I was very, very proud of, you know, working a couple of days a week and then watching them put it all into action on a Sunday. But one of the biggest things for me was making sure that parental connect or family connect remained in any environment that I created. Not overly, like in terms of, I'm the manager, I'm the coach, the buck stops with me. You allow me to have your children in my environment for a period of time. And because you do that, you hand over ownership to me.
Yeah.
So the trust element has to be there.
Yeah.
And I'm so pleased that the two kind of big projects that I had, the parents trusted me, and listen, not 100% of them, of course, but I'd go into the high 90s, trusted what I was doing, trusted me as an individual, trusted my voice, trusted my expertise. to enhance their children and their abilities. And
Wow.
more often than not, most of the parents were there for it as well. So yeah, it was a really good period of time.
What you cultivated from essentially pain, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
That you can't even describe. I mean, it's not very often that I'm speechless, Troy. And anyone that knows me will say that. But that is beautiful.
Thank you.
Genuinely, I'm not just saying that.
I don't think I've said it in that way on any other podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't really bring me on their podcast to talk about Troy the coach, you know.
No.
They don't do it.
Well, I saw something and I was just like, there's something about this man and I really want you on this podcast.
I'm grateful for it, and we haven't even got into the detail,
I know.
have we?
This is that's the phenomenal bit. All of this stuff, really. I've seen a few things that you've shared and reposts where someone said, "Oh, Troy, used to coach my son or whatever," and I was like, "Okay, there's a little bit more to this than I realised."
It was a really good period of time.
Yeah. But beautiful. What you've just said is so beautiful. I don't think you'll ever understand because it's you.
Yeah.
And you can never see it in yourself.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But really, honestly, true. As a mother, I just think that people like you are few and far between. Truthfully, that's genuinely from the heart, because there's not many of you around that really care.
Yeah.
And that really, really care. So don't underestimate that. And I'm glad that's come across today.
Yeah, no, I don't think I have underestimated it. I just don't talk about it. So I suppose that is a bit of underestimating, isn't it? Yeah, because I'm not putting it out there as much. But
you're too shy to. Maybe that shyness is still there.
See?
Yeah.
When I say people I'm shy, they laugh and they go, all right, yeah, you shy. But because they do seem as a dominant character in a lot of the things that I've done, and they do. I wish I could speak. I wish I could speak like Troy and this, that, and the other. And I always say, no one taught me how to do it. It's probably just life that has enabled me to get to this stage, But I do use the term shy still, and it just gets laughed at. So
well, I can, but I can see that it's still there, and that little bit of self-deprecation. I know that the greatness of everything you've done because people will tell you.
Yeah.
But I think it keeps you humble, though, doesn't it? It keeps you grounded.
You have to be.
Yeah.
I can't get above my station, particularly in the field that I work in. So for a very long time, I've ran my own business that has gone into schools and enabled young people to excel at sport as well, and take them away from the hostile environment sometimes that a classroom is for them.
Yes, very hostile.
So to enable them to then, run around on an athletics track or whatever and lose all those inhibitions as such and feel free. That's been very happy. And happy. Yeah,
happy.
Happy has to be a theme, particularly when you're in sport, has to be a theme right across who you are.
Yeah,
almost like your DNA. Because if you're not enjoying it, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
So empowering young people to believe in themselves, that they can go out and perform first and foremost, and then perform very well.
Yeah.
And then maybe create something after that has the title success after it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's an amazing feeling.
I bet.
So I took one of the schools that I worked in, a very old build school that was moving into a new build, and the kids had, I'm going to mention that word again, identity. The kids had no identity. They had no school uniform. They had no PE uniform.
Right.
They had nothing to identify them that they were, I'll say the name of the school, Mayville Primary School in Leytonstone. They had nothing. Kids would turn up to PE in their school trousers with shoes on, and they'd go to sporting fixtures, torn up T-shirt and what. I'll never forget the first time I took this group to a five-a-side tournament, and the other kids were laughing at us. We turned up like rag-ass rovers, if I can say that. We did, though.
Yeah. And
I was embarrassed for them because they were being laughed at. So one thing I went back and said is, we need a school kit.
Yeah.
With just something that they can feel proud of, Change the policy around. You're not coming into one of my PE lessons wearing your school trousers. You wear a white top, blue short, the kind of standard things that I thought were principled.
Well, you'd think that would definitely...
Not in this school.
Wow.
Not in this school. And we were embarrassing in that five-a-side tournament. But actually, it was a good thing. It was one of the best things that could ever happen. I then took them for their first 11-a-side football match. Boy, what an experience that was, by the way. We got beat 7-1.
Wow.
My goalkeeper thought the halfway line was what he had to protect. And I'm watching, and I'm a very proud coach, and I'm a very proud person in regards to my footballing space. And we got beat 7-1. I remember the long walk back to school, and things were going on in my head. The kids were around me, and I don't think I was really invested in them that much. But from that day forward, I told them that will never happen to us again. So what we're going to do, we're going to train 3 nights after school. Oh, sir. Yes, we're going to train 3 nights after school because I'm not getting beaten like that. And I want you to learn discipline, and I want you to learn structure, and I want all of those bits. We never lost again that year.
No
so we
way.
actually lost the first game and won the league. We won the cup. The following year, we did the same thing. I have to say, those children invested in everything that I wanted them to do because they wanted to be better.
How did you do that, Troy?
Well, we're now wearing a kit. So first of all, they've got pride because they're wearing a kit, which they really love, by the way.
I bet.
That kit has to come back in tomorrow. Came back in, washed everything tomorrow. So they had pride and they had a determination to succeed. And I loved that in them. You know, these are primary school children, by the way.
Yeah.
They had a determination to succeed.
Just goes to show it's naturally there if you cultivate it.
Right. So it was more that Sir said, we have to come in 3 days a week. I am not missing one of those sessions. I'm behaving in my classroom so that someone doesn't keep me behind for detention. And I'm making sure my parents know that they don't need to come until 4:30. And we've done so much work in those, it's only an hour, in the hour. And I also started to give them ownership because that was their reward. So they could do their own warm-ups, you know, they could, not tactical, but they could express themselves. They could allow to make mistakes. And as you know, as long as we learn from them, all that, they were an amazing group of young children. And then we started to grow, and we did it in athletics. We did it in cricket. So all of a sudden, this school now that everyone was laughing at is now the hub of sport. My head teacher, I've got to say, be honest, without him, I don't think I could have done it. He enabled me to put a 4G AstroTurf down.
Wow.
So that it was a soft play, so that actually no one was going to get hurt out there. We could play football matches on there. We played cricket, and we put a running track around there. Honestly, I have to say this story because this, out of everything, proved to me what we're doing was right. We started to do PE, and we started doing it in a way that these children were learning about the sports and the craft of each sport. We had a young girl who massively low esteem. Shouldn't use the word low. It was beyond that. About everything, about her body, about her ability.
At primary school age?
At primary school, to even take part in PE.
She just didn't want to do it.
She didn't want to do it.
That was me, by the way.
There you go. So you can understand that.
Yeah.
I had children doing javelin, shot put, where many said, oh, are they a bit too... No. They can do it. It's structured.
Yeah.
And she got involved in the shot put. And I selected her for the borough sports. So, you know, everyone that knows the borough sports, all the schools in the area take part in this big athletics tournament. And people were laughing. Oh, why are you selecting her? You're only doing it because, okay, all right. She won.
No.
She won out of the whole borough. And what that enabled me to do was tell the deputy head that I want all the children that took part in the borough sports to be recognised in assembly. And how proud I was to see her up on stage being recognised by all her classmates and all the others. People didn't see her size then.
Yeah.
They saw her as an athlete.
Yeah.
Because athletes come in all different shapes and sizes.
They bloody well do, Troy.
And it hit me in a way, you know, she's not my child, but it hit me in a way where I was a proud parent.
That would have changed her life.
Absolutely.
That would have changed her life.
Absolutely.
Just that little bit of affirmation that she could do it, and you enabled her to find her space.
And that's what we were doing for the young people. We were giving them an opportunity to excel.
Mm.
And actually get people to see them, talk about them differently.
Yeah. Because no one should ever be given up on, especially not children. Like if they're playing up in the classroom, there's about a million different reasons why.
Yeah, but Ella, I look at our learning systems.
It's
right?
awful.
And I look at our learning systems if you are perceived to be a naughty child.
Yes, it's horrendous. It breaks my heart, especially now, because when you've got kids and you've had yours, you just see how fundamentally flawed the whole system is. And actually, these little beings, they're magical little things.
Beautiful.
They're beautiful. And you've given, like,
beautiful.
These stories, they're making me go all watery-eyed, because it just reminds you of that little, as you're telling the story, I'm just seeing it as a movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's what...
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I just can see that little girl in that assembly.
Out of that school, and I'll just say this is the last piece. We have 2 British Team GB athletes.
No
that came from
way.
School. Their first time of running around a track was with me at Mayville.
Oh my gosh.
And listen, I'm not saying that I've been a part of the whole journey, or like, we go different ways, but every time I see them, I just see one of them on our Instagram. I just think where it all started from.
That's that you can't put into words the pride that you must have for that.
And they're twins, by the way.
No way.
They're amazing twins. Amazing. Their mother was amazing, like during my period of time. What you've done for my children, and
wow.
Just unbelievable.
I can't, but let's just recap for a minute, because we're not even halfway through. Like, this little boy, shy, not happy, blocked out a lot of the early days, ends up with this dream. The dream doesn't quite come to fruition the way you imagined it would. And behind the scenes, your mum's very poorly and, not present.
Yeah.
In fact, you become a bit of a victim of what was a severe mental health, I think, psychotic episode.
Yeah.
Could have been a very different story for you. Instead of just giving up and giving into your own depression, which you identify now, not so much at the time, you go and start working with little people and changing their stories and paying all of that pain forward into something that's purposeful and magical. And now, off the back of all of that, there's so many people that have benefited, even if you don't know where they are now.
Don't need to.
Life-changing.
Yeah.
Life-changing. That's unbelievable. That's just so
now I'm sitting
big.
here really proud.
Yeah, you should be. I'm really proud.
Yeah.
And I think we need to celebrate that more, because it will change so many people's ideas. If someone was listening now and they're not feeling too good about their lives, could be a young person, could be middle-aged, doesn't really matter. But actually, this is really inspirational. I can go to the local school or the community centre, or just knock next door and say, this is what I'd like to do.
Yeah.
We've got a little community.
Absolutely.
Community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So far, I'm wowed. And I'm genuinely wowed. I just think, like, what a good human.
I do try to be.
You are.
Yeah, I do try to be.
Like, and the fact that just that little girl, because I resonate with that story, because mine was actually discus.
Right, okay.
I came second in the school. I didn't come first, but I was that girl that did not want to do PE. Funnily, there is a story attached to this. I was trying to show somebody. I was so proud that I came second in discus. So proud that I was trying to demonstrate my discus ability to my friend.
Yeah.
We were just standing on the street playing around, and I went a little bit over the top.
I think I know where you're going. Yeah.
I didn't actually have the discus at the time.
Right, okay.
I was doing it without a discus.
Yeah.
But because I used the same amount of force,
yeah.
I ended up spinning and falling on my chin and ended up having a goatee.
Wow. At least you're laughing. I didn't want to laugh, but you're laughing, so I might join in.
But I was so proud of that, coming second, because I was rubbish at sports. But similarly, being the girl that was a fat girl, I'll put it, quite honestly, I didn't have any confidence. And it was one teacher that just said, why don't you just try this?
Yeah.
Obviously, they realised they had a bit more weight behind me, so that I was going to be good there.
That's almost your particular skill.
Yeah.
And then you learn the trade, and there you go. Second place.
Yeah.
First, second, third.
Don't
just
matter.
participating is the. Where other people would look at you and go, "Oh, I don't think you're a sporty kind."
Well, exactly. They would look at me and go, "Yeah, fair enough. Go off and do what you want. You're not needed here." And that would be, and essentially as well, one of the things that was happening at the time, going back to many years ago, is that the PE kits were not suitable for fat girls,
right?
Because they were tiny. And if you had any like body confidence issues at all, you did not want to be wearing those outfits.
Absolutely.
So they needed to accommodate for me, and they didn't. So I sort of thought, all right, well, I'll just put some shell suit bottoms on at the time.
Yeah, that's it. You'll make it work.
And that was that. But though they are fundamentally very important moments, but I think what you did went to a whole new level, and so you're doing all this work with coaching kids, and you said you had your business. So you've got a son that plays Premiership football.
Yeah.
And was he part of your football academy?
No, his older brother was. So my older son was. He was also in academy football, but had Oscar slatus, so where his knee is growing, his bone in his knee is growing. So there wasn't any kind of understanding of what that was at the time. So we took him out for a year. Took him out of football for a year so that he could actually, because he was in pain.
Oh, bless him.
So while I remember I had Oscar slatus and this massive lump on my knee and used to touch it. And
it's genetic then?
It's the worst pain ever. Just touch the knee. It's a growing. I didn't think I've ever. I think I've been this size forever, so I'm not sure I've ever grown. But your knee, it's like your bone stretches out in your knee, but it's actually what they say. It's a growing stint. And I remember if you touch my knee, I'd actually hit you
because it was
for
that
the
bad.
Pain. Yeah, my reaction would be to hit you. So he developed it, and we took him out for a year. And obviously, you take any child out for a year of not being able to participate in sport, football, etc. Changes you a little bit, doesn't it? So he was in academies and didn't go back in, but then came and played for me as I set up my own academy. But yeah, the middle son was the one that's in a professional academy and went all the way.
Which for you,
unbelievable.
I mean,
I can't describe the feeling of knowing that your son is playing the best sport in the world, and people might want to say no, it's not, but I'm telling you it is.
Whether you like it or not.
And being at the top of that sport, represented his country, scored some of the most amazing goals, by the way, that blow my mind, and just being very proud and very knowing what he's done for his own family, and the things that he's provided us with, and also providing now his own family, is because he's a father now himself, just immense pride. He hasn't had to feel the things that I felt as I was trying to grow and play football. He's had a loving family all the way through that actually is just there for whatever he wants to achieve, and whatever he wants to do. And like I said, I never had that. So
do you think that makes difference, Troy?
Listen, there are dysfunctional families, and players come out of that and grow and overcome it. But it's a battle within itself, isn't it?
Of course.
So rather than focusing on the achievement of trying to be a professional sports person, you've got the negative always in your mind about, I'm going home, and what am I going home to, and
takes up more energy.
Energy that is obviously needed,
and precious.
Yeah. So of course it helped. It has to help. And then I suppose it's how you manage everything else around it. So he's good under pressure.
Yeah.
He's very good under anyone that plays sport at elite level is good under pressure, by the way.
Yeah.
Whether people think you're good or not.
Yeah, you have
you're
to.
You're good under pressure.
You are, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm immensely proud of the way that he carries himself now, and he's at the other end of his career now. So there's another career waiting for him.
Yeah.
That he's developing now, and it's just lovely to see.
I mean, it just seems like the pinnacle, doesn't it? Like for you to go through everything you went through, and then to be able to see your son playing for England, scoring those goals. But you told me something earlier that it was his debut.
Yeah.
He scored a goal, didn't he? And then he went back that's for England.
Yeah. He publicly spoke about it. In an interview, I can't remember who the interview was for, but he probably spoke about breaking down in the hotel room, you know, by himself. The enormity of what just happened.
Yeah.
The enormity of playing for your country for the very first time at Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
The enormity of it being a World Cup qualifier and England needed to win.
Yeah.
The enormity of doing what he did in the second half, which is create a goal and score a goal and being named man of the match.
Yeah, I mean, wow.
That's a lot to put together when you think about it, you know.
Yeah.
And he always says that don't really do nerves.
Mm-hmm.
But we all do, don't we, in
do.
a certain way? And we have to manage those nerves. And
we're wired that way.
Yeah. But he was excellent. He was excellent. You know, there were 2 games to qualify, and he was magnificent in both. But the enormity hits him differently.
Yeah.
So what it hit ours obviously is of immense pride, is of, you know, our son being an England international. It's watching him warm up in a 3-line shirt on Wembley, on the pitch at Wembley. It's watching him perform, which is still nervous. It is nervous, but it's a different kind of nerves, you know. But he's the one that has to go out there and do it.
Yeah.
And the enormity of it all impacted on him.
Yeah.
But then he went out 3 days later and did exactly the same thing and helped England to go to the World Cup.
I mean, it's
mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing. Even as I repeat it now. It'll be 10 years this year that he did. He made his England debut. So in October this year. And I listen, people were going, who's he talking about? So Andros Townsend is my son. And
I'm glad you said.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, people said, you know, he's talking about it, but he hasn't mentioned his name yet. I'm always conscious not just to put it out there, by the way, and almost ask people to work it out by themselves. But
yeah,
on a podcast where actually it's not a sporting podcast, people are going to say who he is. So yeah, it'll be 10 years in October.
Wow.
That he made his debut and helped England qualify.
Tell me, we've skipped so far forward, but as we're here, we may as well continue. Tell me how it felt for you, like the emotions and the sort of thought process.
I can't describe the words properly. I can't.
No.
I remember him telling me at like midday, and I was going into a football club, Watford, to go and deliver a session, because I deliver education as well now in football. So he texted me and said, I'm starting. I think I stayed at the phone for about 20 minutes. Like, it was only a second, and then everything changed inside me.
You could feel it.
I didn't want to be walking into Watford. No. I just wanted to go to Wembley now. It wasn't to kick off till 8 o'clock, but I just wanted to get to Wembley. I can't remember if I was good, bad, or indifferent in terms of that delivery. All I knew is that I wanted to get out of there and get to Wembley. And I think I got to Wembley about 6:30. And I flew. Anyone that knows Wembley, there's a long walk before you get to the stadium. And I think I flew down there on a buzz. You know, you get inside. I like to watch his warm up.
Yeah.
So I meet the family there, but I'm outside very quickly to watch his warm up. And, you know, just hearing them say his name ringing around the stadium, you know, number 7, Andros Townsend, and then seeing him on the big screen. And
wow.
Those things. And any family would say it's very hard to put into words that make sense.
Yeah.
But it's everything that he would have worked for, everything, his dream. He says it, you know, as a young boy, you dream of playing for your country, and he was now actually doing it.
That's surreal.
Very surreal.
Did you feel, because you said you sort of flew down that bit there, but did you feel that you were dreaming at the time? Was there almost like an out-of-body experience?
Yeah, but that very quickly shut down, because then I get very nervous once the game kicks off.
Yeah, so the anxiety
kicks in, and the whole. And by the way, he started well.
Yeah.
He started well, and he continued to play well. But I was anxious. I don't want him to do anything wrong. I don't want him to misplace a pass. I don't want him to, you know, to be the cause of a goal or anything like for the opposition or anything like that. So that's that nervousness. That's that. I just hope he does. I hope he passes well. I hope he dribbles. I hope he takes on a man. I hope he crosses. I hope he shoots. And all that is constant.
Of course, yeah.
Constant. So I had a face on. I had a face of, you could read me like a book.
Yeah.
And I was told off. I said, you know, relax. Your energy goes onto the pitch. And as if my energy goes onto the pitch like that. And I tried to relax in the second half. So I loosened a little bit. My face wasn't so, but I loosened. But I'm still nervous inside.
Yeah.
Within 5 minutes, he runs down the wing, cross, Welbeck, Rooney, goal. Right, so then you kind of...
My energy really did go on to pitch. Yeah.
You know, but it wasn't me. I didn't say it. My missus said, like, you know what I mean? So I felt like she was one up on me almost. But that's when I had that release of...
He's okay.
At least they can say he created a goal.
Wow.
And then 20 minutes later, he hits this thing that flies in the back of the net. And that, I got up very quickly out of my seat. And anyone that knows me knows that I don't really get out of seats really quickly, you know, and made it down the stairs a little bit. He was actually running towards us, although he didn't know where we were. But after he scored, he's celebrating right in front of us. And that feeling, like, I didn't take my phone out. I just wanted to live it as it was.
Yes, to digest it.
And that was.
I bet you felt like you were going to have a heart attack.
No, my heart was pumping good. I don't know what I was, you know, when you're so excited, you're so energized, you're so invested in your son that's celebrating at Wembley.
That's what I mean. It's almost surreal. I can't quite imagine that.
If I could have dreamed it, I would have dreamed it like that.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
That's the best thing I can say. If I could have dreamed it, I would have dreamed it like that. That we'd be at Wembley Stadium celebrating our child, our son, you know, brother, scoring a goal for his country.
And what's so amazing about that is all the magic you would put into all the little kids. And there you are witnessing the magic of your own child.
I have my own experience, yeah. I have my own experience. And yeah, and again, it's everything that I thought that I was going to do, wanted to replicate, it's everything, you know.
Everything.
I can see it in my son carrying it out.
I mean, it's almost it's like someone has written a beautiful, as I said to you a minute ago, it feels like a movie. It's like someone has written a really beautiful movie, except for not everything has been so magical and wonderful, which I know that you're not going to want me to go straight from that into other things, but
you steer it how you do. It's how it lands.
Well, where there is great joy and the dream becomes the reality, and there's this magic, and not only witnessing your own son, but the way you've just carried other people and instilled such beautiful discipline and, you know, life-changing moments for others. There was this really painful thing that I know you really is a very recent thing for you to start talking about your other son. And those of you that follow you will know this story because, again, it is out there, but some people that are listening to this may not know. So one of your children, how old was he at the time?
Curtis, 18.
18, which is just horrific. It was a car accident, wasn't it? I'll let you tell the story if you don't mind. I mean, if you need help telling the story, I'm obviously here to do that, but I don't want to put words into your mouth.
No, it's I think you almost have to just give you time to get into the story. So, you know, Kurt, again, a promising young footballer, just been released by AFC Wimbledon at the time. And we kind of only just reconnected. And when I say that, it was with another partner. And I had Kurt with another partner, and my first partner. And there's a bit. I don't want to tell this story too much. There was a bit of conflict between her, me, my new partner, etc. So I lost connect with Kurt for a number of years, you know, which was difficult within itself.
Yeah.
But when he so he got released AFC Wimbledon at City's another August birthday, late August. So again, he's the younger one in the group, and so he got released. And I said, you know what? Don't worry about it. You know, come and work for me. So he started to work in our business, and I was just made manager, so full-time manager of a non-league club. I said, just come and play for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'll look after you. Everything that no one had said to me is like, don't worry, and you'll get back to where you want to be, you know?
Yeah.
So he signed for me at Cheshunt Football Club. He became part of our business, Ultimate Sports, me and my business partner, Steve Brown. So I'm looking after my son, which any parent would do anyway, wouldn't they, you know? And we're doing okay. He's playing with a smile on his face. He's enjoying himself. He's playing men's football now, and he's into that non-league environment that can be quite tough, quite rugged, but you know what? I didn't want him to leave. I didn't want him to go anywhere because I always wanted to cuddle him, keep cuddling him until I knew that he could fly the roost. He could fly the roost. He was a very mature young man. I'll never forget my business partner, Steve, who was also a non-league manager. And we were everything to each other, you know. And he was managing a bigger club. He went, let me have him. And I went, no. He went, go on, like I can pay him more. And I knew he could give him all of that. But I didn't want him to leave. I didn't want him to go anywhere. He hadn't had enough time with his father. I said, Steve, no, don't. He went, come on, you know, it makes sense. And it did make sense. It absolutely made sense. But I said no. And, you know, we had a little bit of banter about it, but I know he was serious and I know I was serious. So, but we get to December of that year and we're going to a game. I remember at Barton Rovers away. And it was, obviously it's December. It was, it'd been snowing, frost at night. And the game was in doubt. But they didn't call it off, and we still had to turn up on a Saturday morning. So we had to go to our ground, and we normally get a coach, but the coach was cancelled because everyone just thought the game was going to be off. And they were having an early morning pitch inspection that wasn't early morning no more. So we've all gone to the ground, our ground, to leave. And because the coach has been called off, we get a message saying the game's on. And so we're now having to drive to the game. Everyone's driving to the game. And it's interesting because a teammate would always pick us up. I don't drive and Kurt didn't drive. So a teammate would always come around my house. Kurt would come around mine, pick us up, and we'd go to the game. Now, whenever we are traveling, if we have to travel by car, going with the chairman, and Kurt would normally come into the same car. And I asked him, and this time he said, no, I'm all right. I'm going to stay here. I'm in the back. I'm fine. I'm going to stay with the teammates drive. So we all set off, and there's 7-8 cars. Anyone in non-league knows the kind of trail that you take, convoy, you know, everyone's driving and that, and everyone knows where the ground is. And so we're in this convoy. The roads are not great, but we're in this convoy, and obviously you lose touch with some. So I think we are the first to get to the ground, which would have been about 10 to 2. So an hour and 10 minutes before the game. You have to put the team sheet in at 2:00. So that's regulation. And Kurt's car's not arrived yet, and it's nearly 2:00. But I think they were allowing us because obviously the game was called on late, and obviously we had to make the journey. So I remember ringing Kurt at about 2:07, 2:08, with a bit of aggressive voice. Where are you? Yeah, I've got to put a team sheet in. What are you guys doing? It went straight to voicemail. So anyway, I've written them in the team. So I've handed the team sheet into the referee. There's 4 players in the car. 3 of them are starting. And I've written them in the team, despite them not being here. I'm just expecting them to get here sooner rather than later. And you know what? The rest becomes a blur. We kicked off. I know we kicked off. I'm focused on the entrance because I had to amend the team. So I'm focused on the car park entrance, waiting to see when they're going to get there. And the game is a blur. I know we lost 2-0. I can't even remember what my team, I'm the manager, so I can't remember what team talk was. I can't remember what halftime was. I can't remember what the end of the game. I can't remember. And I know there was a little bit of something happened at the end of the game, and there was this little bit of a melee. One of the players came up to me and said, you need to get to the hospital. So the first thing he said to me was, you need to get to the hospital. So throughout the game, the reason why I say I can't remember, because my whole focus is on, I can't believe them lot have taken the wrong turning. I can't believe they can't find the ground. I can't believe they could. That's all my focus was on. That's all the thoughts that were going through my head. And then he said, you've got to get to the hospital. So I went into the changing room, but then went out straight away, and he's given me a lift to the hospital. And again, even when I'm en route to the hospital, I'm not thinking anything but, I've got to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
There's no other thought process in my mind. And we get to the hospital, and I'm met by 2 policemen, and I said, "Where's Kurt?" And they said, "Can't tell you," which I thought was a bit strange. But they said, "Come with us." I'm really confused at this point. I'm really, really confused. But I've got to be honest, again, I'm not thinking anything has happened or anything like that. And they take me into the room, a private room. And the first thing the officer said was, "Kurt's died."
Just like that?
Just like that. So obviously I've broken down straight away. I don't even know if I believe them at first, but why would they even tell me that? And I suppose the next bit is just crazy, because Kurt's mum sends him into my care. That's what she's doing every time he's with me at football. That's what she's doing, because he lives at home with her. So she sends her into my care, and you know, by then she knows the routine. He comes to mine. We go to football. He comes home 7 o'clock, 7:30, whatever else. But I had to ring her. I had to ring her and tell her that the son that she'd left in my care won't be coming home tonight. And it's the worst thing I've had to do some things in my life, but obviously it's the worst thing I've ever done in my life, because a friend picked up the phone as well. And I said, "Can I speak to Maria?" She said, "Is that you, Troy?" I said, "Yeah." "What's wrong?" You know, she's demanding to know what's wrong.
Oh my God.
And she can obviously tell that I'm not speaking very clearly, and I'm emotional, and I'm sure I would have been crying, but she's demanding. She's not passed the phone over. She's demanding to know what's wrong. And then, like, Kurt's mum comes onto the phone, and then I don't know how long it took me to tell her, but I had to tell her. And obviously, just hearing her on the other end of the phone,
that's a sound you never forget.
Can't forget it.
No.
Can't forget it. So that broke me up even more. Yeah, there's
certain things, Troy, that, you know, have a lasting impact. And talking about it now obviously takes you straight back to that space. But, you know, as hard as it is, and I know it's incredibly hard to go back to those moments, there are, in the same way that you have given people so much in so many ways in your life, being this vulnerable is providing a lot for people that you will never, I mean, you do know, but you'll never fully understand.
And the only thing is that in the moment you don't see that.
No,
So
how can you?
I don't know. I don't see it, and so as I close my eyes now, I see Kurt. You know, I see my beautiful boy, with everything to live for. You know, just the way people spoke about him, the way he presented himself as a young man at that age, how beautiful he was. But I have to talk about him in past context.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the worst.
You know, I've never said this before, but we were taken to see him, obviously.
Take your time.
We were taken to see him. And everything I just said about him, you know, the beautiful boy, that he was there. He was right there in the flesh. He wasn't responding.
But he looked asleep.
But when you're asleep, you wake up.
Yeah.
So I was trying to talk to him to wake him up. I was trying to tell him how much we loved him, and please, you know. And I was just, and then we had to leave him there.
And at that time, Troy, I can't begin to imagine what you're going through now. I mean, unless you are a parent that's lost a child, you can't imagine it. But what I can say is, I don't know what your belief is on this, but what I can say is that, and I say this a lot to people, I'm going to say it now, and I don't know if this brings any comfort or anything at all, but physics says that there's like 20 watts of electricity, the equivalent of 20 watts of electricity running through our bodies at any one time. And the law of physics says that energy cannot be destroyed. And therefore, that energy is redistributed somehow. And it becomes infinite. It's an infinite part of the universe because, again, the law of physics says it can't be destroyed. I guess the question that I would have for you is, do you still feel that energy from him? Have you been able to cultivate that connection to him in that way?
That's a crazy question. It's a crazy question because before I'm very dismissive. I used to have to go to Sunday school.
Mm-hmm. I know what's coming.
Because my mum said it was the right thing to do. You know, you got to go to Sunday school. And until football came along, every Sunday I'm dressed up like a God knows what, having to go to Sunday school. But I'll be honest, I never believed in anything in church. Nothing. Not at all. I'm not religious. I don't believe in God. No, that's wrong.
You don't believe in God as in the religious texts?
Yeah, you know, and whatever. And you know what? When my son has left me at 18 years of age, why is the only thing that I... Everyone talks about God so positive, and I hope I'm not saying, well, this is your truth. Is me. Everyone talks about God and what he does for us, and God took my child away, if that's the case, at 18 years of age, as he was maturing into... I can visualize Kurt now, you know, being a father, being just all the things that you expect, and just, you know, in life, and you see, and you know, that's what you want your children to be. And then there was an intervention, you know, and the intervention meant that, I don't know, my child was needed for other things, and it wasn't done. I don't think I'm making a lot of sense now.
You are, Bella, Troy, you are.
But when you talk about that, so let me connect the two. So we finished with Andros and we're connected with Kurt. So when I'm at Wembley, I think Kurt's with us.
Yes.
I believe that the things that we've done in our lives, Kurt's played an important part in all of that. And that may sound silly for someone that said, I don't believe in X and I don't believe in Y. 5 days before, so Andros, the game was on a Friday. On the Monday, I was at Buckingham Palace receiving an award from Prince William. And it was the biggest acknowledgement that I've ever had in my life about what I've done and who I am and what I'm trying to achieve. And I know Kurt's there. I know he's proud. I know that he's smiling. But I want to see that. I want to feel it and I want to touch it.
Yeah.
So when Andros is scoring his goal at Wembley, I want to see the excitement. I want to see how proud he is. I want to touch that. So there's a piece of me going, I can feel the energy.
Yeah.
But what good is that? I'm being selfish here. I'd rather be able to cuddle him and say, look at your brother. And I want to be able to do all that, you know?
Yeah, of course you do.
And I want him to be proud about the grandchildren and his. I get it. I do feel the energy. I do. I don't think I'd be sitting here if I didn't. I don't think you'd be interested in me if I didn't, in regards to the things that you've said you've seen me do and
Yeah.
what I've told you today. But I'd rather not have the energy. I'd rather have the person. It's 21 years ago, 22 years this year. And the pain is exactly, I don't even want to measure pain, but I've had no comfort in that period of time.
No.
And look, I smile a lot. I laugh a lot. Sometimes I'm a little bit embarrassed about what have I got to smile about? What have I got to laugh about? What have I got to be proud about? But what I'm doing, I'm actually hiding, continuing to hide what is going on inside of me and continuing to hide the hurt that has existed from that period of time to now, which I can't control. And I don't know, I haven't got a great mechanism around that. But yet when I share my story, people are talking about me and this is, I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone that has typed something away in response to me sharing this. I don't know how to handle their kind words.
No, I know you don't.
I don't know how to almost accept what I do. Accept what they're saying. I have to, not have to, but I do, because I'm a man that wears my heart in such a place, but and I value it. I really, really do, but I don't know how to deal with it.
No.
And so that causes me more, I don't know, just I don't know where my head is so confused. So when I share it again, it becomes even more confused. I need to clear it. I don't know how to clear it. All I know is that I wish Kurt was sitting there next to me, sharing his life experiences, but his life was cut off at 18.
Yeah. It's just, like I said before, I can't begin to imagine that pain. And nobody really even wants to, which is part of the reason that it's quite taboo to talk about, because people don't want to imagine that people don't want to experience that pain that you've experienced. But for those that have, that feel like they're completely on their own, because let's face it, not many people will go through losing a child. And when someone is courageous, I'm going to use that word again, courageous enough to speak openly, vulnerably, authentically about that pain, it does provide comfort. But what you're saying, and I completely understand this, is although I know you read all the messages and you appreciate
I have to.
I know you do. But you also said earlier, and I totally understand this as well, you can't reply to them all, if any of them, because it's too painful. And what do you say? How do you do it?
I should let people know that. I don't know if they're waiting for a response, by the way. And I've also got to think of people in the same space of me. They're sharing a similar story just to get it out of their system.
Yeah.
Rather than waiting for a response. And one thing I do is, on no matter what social platform it is to like the comment that they've sent.
Yeah.
And I'll read them at ridiculous times of the night, by the way.
I know, you're a night owl.
I'm a proper night owl, and I'll read them. So this is so crazy. They're comforting.
Yeah.
But they're challenging.
Of course they are.
So I do take every word that is written. I take so much comfort from it. So much comfort, but they're challenging.
Yeah.
But I realised that the last pod I did talking about this, and it's for The Guardian, second from last, there were so many men that were saying, wow, that was emotional. I cried on my jog. I went home and cuddled my child. That blew my mind. Because, as acknowledged, men don't talk in this space. They don't share their emotion. They don't express tears, and so actually my tears in that pod helped other people, well, made other people cry, but helped them to acknowledge whatever it is that their whatever their families are, whatever they've created for their families. And I'll be honest, again, it sends me into this shy Troy bit where I'm, you know what I mean?
You want to hide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful. I'm bouncing off of all these experiences, but I'm so grateful. Like, so I don't know what's going on in my own like space to even be able to acknowledge sometimes.
Yeah.
But I remain truly appreciative of everyone that decides to listen to me and actually goes, that guy's had an impact on me.
And you will have done, whether you can reply to those messages or not, which quite frankly would be difficult for anyone to do, because it will challenge you and it will touch on such a severe pain point that it's almost difficult to begin to know how to respond. But I think one of the things that I've always said to people when I do grief work is that, and everyone's seen this quote or this meme, I'm sure, but the grief never gets any smaller. You grow around it. You don't necessarily feel like you've grown around it, but you do. And part of growth is to share and to provide something that resonates with somebody else that could be part of their healing journey as well. And with grief, unfortunately, that's pretty much all you can do with it, is to use your experience to help somebody else heal. And I know that feels like, yeah, but I don't want to have to do that.
No, I didn't do it for those reasons.
No, but it will have that response, Troy.
Yeah.
It will. And I know this. And I know because when I work with grief, people say, no one knows what I'm going through because I don't know anybody else that's gone through this. And they're right. They probably don't know anybody else. So when they hear somebody else that's been through it, it's like, I can really relate to that. He's just said everything I've not been able to articulate, because they might be at the beginning of that journey.
Someone said that to me.
Yeah.
You've helped me understand what I was going through.
Yeah. And you didn't have that, did you?
No.
You didn't have someone speak. No. That's what I mean. You've become the person that you maybe needed, which you did for those children. You became the person you needed. And without really intentionally doing it, you're doing it again, Troy. You are providing for others what you've always needed. And that's quite beautiful, but also quite lonely and difficult to accept.
I don't know what I needed. I didn't. Many people said to me immediately, because they saw what state I was in, you need to see a counsellor. That was a point where no trust for anybody else. I wouldn't tell a stranger all my inner feelings. I got no, if I can't connect with you, I'm not going to. So me and that counsellor, let's say I did go at that time, we would have just been sitting there looking at each other.
Yeah.
Because I would not have said a word. I wouldn't be comfortable or confident to do it. I lost my business partner, Steve, who I've just spoken about, who, by the way, was the strongest person around me when Kurt passed. Without Steve, I'm telling you now, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Wow.
I know for a fact, and I haven't got him anymore to continually tell him that. But so I contemplated, obviously, taking my own life, as I kind of alluded to earlier.
The pain was too much.
The pain was awful.
You wanted that pain to end.
I remember being at a train station and making my last call, what I thought was my last call to Kurt's mum. And obviously she's now fretting and whatever, but I just felt no value. I remember looking up at a lampshade, one of the old ones that's got the wire on it. Is that the best way to do it? I just saw no value in who I was, or no worth. And without that guy knocking on my door religiously, or when I went missing, and I went missing a couple of times, seeking to find me, leaving no stone unturned, like would drive anywhere and everywhere with my contacts and whoever else to find me. Without him, I don't think I'd be existing anymore. And obviously I'm grateful. Now I don't have him anymore to to bounce off of, because I still have those moments where actually, what is life? What, so I've forgotten even where I was going. But
talking about what you needed at the time, and then you spoke about Steve. You said you didn't know what you needed, but he kind of...
Yeah. So I went to a counsellor after Steve passed.
When was that, by the way?
January the 1st. So New Year's Day 2016. So it's about 6 or 7 years ago. Which is literally 2 weeks after Kurt passed.
Oh, God.
Steve had cancer, and I just saw him whittle away in front of me. This is such an energetic guy, great banter. Don't know how we became business. I do know how, but I don't know how we were business partners. We were just, do you know what I mean? But I don't really ever connect with my brother. So Steve, superseded anything that I could have wished for in a brother, in a friend, in a business partner. He was my family, simple as that. And he kept me going at the points where I was at my lowest. And some of it would just be with his dry humour. It's just because he made everything normal.
Yeah.
Rather than the pretense. Many people, I had to cross the road sometimes I just go out and walk. I don't know where I'm going. But if I saw people I recognised, I'd cross the road.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see, I know they can see me, but I'm pretending like they can't see me.
You're just acting like they're not there.
Yeah, cross the road. And I always say this, someone that used to play football for me, class as a friend, I remember walking past their shop and they come out and they called me. And I don't know how long it was after passing, but they used this term, life goes on. And everything was still raw. And I didn't want to hear that.
No.
And I walked out, never to return. And it stuck with me for so long, because I thought, how inconsiderate. What do you mean life goes on?
It's the worst thing you could possibly say to somebody.
I don't blame them, because maybe actually he was uncomfortable as well, yeah?
Of course, but...
I know, but that life goes on thing now is imprinted in my mind every single day, because life didn't go on. And the impact of life not going on has led me to question my life.
Yeah.
Has led me to think there must be better things over the other side. That's why they took Kurt. Has led me to question what is here for me in this life.
Yeah.
And I've got to be honest, and it beats me up. It absolutely, and I can see it being said to me now, and me walking out. But I think when I gave it a little and just walked out.
Like that disappointment you must have felt in that moment. Because I can almost... there's nothing worse, I think, than waking up after such a horrific trauma and just seeing life move in front of your eyes. So when someone says life goes on, it's like you don't understand. And again, they would never have meant to upset you or anything, I'm sure. But I'm fully bloody aware of that. Thank you very much. And I wish it fucking wasn't.
As West Indians, we have a thing called 9 nights where everyone comes and celebrates the life of. I remember being upstairs in the bedroom. So it was at Kurt's mum's house. She's not in a good state. But it's the thing you do as a tradition. You should not do it. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like you're blaspheming against the community.
Yeah.
And I remember being upstairs in a state myself and all over the gaff. I could hear laughter downstairs.
Ugh.
I could hear people enjoying themselves downstairs. I could hear... What I could hear is almost like, okay, he's gone. So? I remember going downstairs and shouting at everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. And apparently after that, I collapsed. So my energy...
That adrenaline.
Yeah. I only know this because my friends told me, they had to pick me up, lift me out, take me home. But everybody seemed, whether they were or not, I don't know. That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah.
The energy in the room was of laughter, was of, there's food there, there's drink there. And I hated it. I hated it to the point where I had to go downstairs and do something about it.
Yeah.
Rightly or wrongly.
Well, there's no right or wrong, is there, Troy? Like, that is how you felt. And I can completely understand. That would be the worst thing to hear. The worst thing to hear when you're in that
Remember, it's only 9 days later. That's why it's called 9 nights. It's 9 days later.
And that 9 days would have just felt one continuous dark hole, I'm pretty sure. Longer than that, I'm sure. But
that 9 days took us into Christmas. Worst Christmas I've ever had, and I don't think I've really enjoyed Christmas again.
No, I can imagine
until
you
my grandchildren came along.
Yeah,
you got to do it for them,
yeah.
haven't you? Kurt also was born the same day as my youngest.
Oh my God.
They share the same birthday. There's all these little things. There's all these little. That was the proudest day, seeing my youngest born on the same day as the eldest.
Yeah, wow.
It was, 28th. Amazing. They're born on they celebrate their life birthdays together. But this is where again that energy that you spoke about. My first grandchild was born 4 days after the accident.
Wow.
Why? Like, that's, you know what I mean? Why?
Why, yeah.
Is that to bring the joy back? Is that to make you celebrate? Is that to make sure that, because to be honest with you, I've never worked a day again on the 15th of December.
I'm pretty sure that you never will.
And then I've never worked for about 2 weeks during that period. So I always take that period of time off.
Yeah.
Although I do remember doing an interview about something happened in football, but I literally booked my time off all around December.
Yeah.
And my phone will be off for the longest period of time.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel comfortable. Comfortable around laughter, I'm still in mourning. I don't care what anyone tells me.
Of course.
I'm still in mourning. And I may be laughing on the 14th, but by the 15th, I'm in a totally different space.
Yeah.
16th, I'm in a different space. And I know I switch my phone on and there'll be all these messages, still thinking of Kurt. And I don't want to hear them and I don't want to read them.
No.
And then we go into Christmas and I'm like, everyone's celebrating, but my child is not. And then a grandchild comes along 4 days later. You just think to yourself, I can't keep that going, because there's our new energy. There's our new spirit. There's the reason why we smile and we're happy, and because a new life is in and around us and maybe put there for a reason.
Definitely. The redistribution of energy, Troy. I mean, I do believe in God as in an energy. I guess that we're all here somehow. However we're here, I've got no idea. No one knows. But I look to science and studies on studies on studies, and the same thing comes up again and again and again. Energy cannot be destroyed. And if we have 20 watts of electricity, or the equivalent of, in our body, it gets redistributed and it can come back. And I think the grief work I've always done is about getting people to connect to that, because you don't let go of it. Don't try and let go of it. Don't bury it. Connect to it. And if you see that connection, if you see patterns, if you see connections, embrace it. It's never going to replace the physicality, because we are physical people. Even in terms of oxytocin, which is a chemical we give off when we touch and we hug and all of those things, we need that. And there's no getting away from the pain of losing that side of somebody. But I can see when you're talking about him, you can see him in your mind. I can see when you talk about how beautiful he was, you can see him. And I genuinely believe that energy I know that energy cannot be destroyed. And I know that it comes back to us in various ways. So as much as the loss will always be visceral, it will always be painful, beyond painful. That painful doesn't even come close, does it?
No.
But I do believe that 4-day thing there's something in that.
Yeah. I've questioned.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I've questioned a lot. They might have a granddaughter gets born at the beginning of December.
No.
Yeah.
It's like the bookends.
Yeah. get you into a frame of mind where
Yeah. That there's no coincidences, Troy.
and I'm saying that myself, and no one had to say that for me, by the way. I'm
No.
saying it myself. This is too much
Yeah.
to not think that they're born around those times for a reason.
Yes.
You know? It's too much.
It's like the little bubble surrounding that time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, that's
crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I asked that question for a reason, because, again, if you're not religious, it's hard to find anything to link into.
Yeah.
And actually science or physics or whatever way you want to put it, energy, some people think in energy terms instead of science, but it's the same thing. And to give that context for people listening that don't really get what I'm talking about, before something's a particle, it's a subatomic particle, which means it's a potential to turn into a particle from a physics point of view. And that's electromagnetic waves, which cannot be seen or touched, but can be measured. And so we know that everything are these waves of energy, even brainwave activity, they're waves of energy. And we can create energy. You know, like when you walk into a room and you can cut the atmosphere with a knife. Yeah. You don't know what's happened, but that energy is thick.
Absolutely.
And it's the same with the energy of happiness or the energy of winning. It's a very different energy that someone carries than the energy of losing, and it starts with a thought. So we know about energy in those terms. So electromagnetic waves, you can tap into the potential of anything. And when you revisit an energy, if you think about someone smiling that you haven't seen for a long time, it changes your energy. Absolutely. It's palpable, and we mustn't discount the power of it, especially when we know it redistributes. From what I can see, what you've done so far with your work, with your story, with being so open, with being so honest, is that you're starting to carve out a completely unique space. Your work with Kick It Out in particular is about, like I said, I think I said this before, being a spokesperson for other people. And actually what's happened more recently is you've become a spokesperson for people like you in many different ways, whether it be grief, whether it be about, you know, the BAME space that you're in, whether it be about football, and just continuing to be I know you're going to struggle with this, but a bit of a beacon of light for people. What I would say is today has been, for me, just a massive lesson in how to do life properly. You know, you have got so much pain, and yet you've been so authentic throughout your entire life, I think, and you've given so much to so many people. And even in the work, Troy, which I don't want to touch on too much because it's not what you're about entirely, but you'll have hit a lot of roadblocks doing what you do.
Jesus.
And, you know, you have not always been treated with the respect that you deserve, I think. And what I see is someone that carries on regardless. Like, you've just got this determination and drive through. And I said to you earlier, didn't I, when we stopped recording, I don't know how you managed to stay so regulated, because you just seem to have this real strong emotional intelligence where you can see what needs to be done. So what is next for you?
Do you know, it's to continue to be me.
Yes.
To continue to do the things that I do, because the journey doesn't end. You know, there's no end to what I do. People talk about success. It's the wrong word to use, it's the wrong term. The industry that I'm in, the reason why I'm on a platform, the reason why I educate and also speak in this space, I don't see the end goal as success, because then there'll be another cohort that is still going to need that influence and that conversation, you know. And doesn't matter who they are, players, parents, people that work in the game. I think the only time the game will stop me is when I retire, when I, you know, enough's enough. I've got to go. I can't do it no more physically. Mentally, it has taken its toll.
Yeah.
And I acknowledge that. It's the one time that I actually have spoken about the acknowledgement of what I do and what the game has done to me on my mental well-being space. I have some pretty horrendous days. I have some times where I think, do you know what, I'm not going back to be received in that way.
Yeah.
And then I think I reevaluate and go, but you know what, Troy, what you're doing is more powerful than what people are doing to you.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and that gives me my drive. And any time I'm in a room with players or parents or whoever it may be, I am energized to be my best me. And that's what keeps me going. You mentioned authentic. I'm authentic, and the people I'm talking to need that.
Yeah.
They need someone to, and I hope you know what I'm saying, cut the bullshit.
No, you say
go
it.
straight to the chase. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? What are we facing? What is it that, we're going to go into? What can we do about it? What is the mechanisms of, and all that kind of, I can only tell them the truth from my experiences. I would never say to someone, it's going to be okay, because the game doesn't talk in that way.
No, it doesn't.
So Monday will be another day where I go out and do what I do, and I feel really good about myself. There are elements where I don't feel good about myself, and that's the personal stuff which I deal with, and hopefully this has helped me as well as helping people outwardly.
Yeah.
But by Monday afternoon, and I know I've got to go to 2 clubs on that day, you'll see me smiling, you'll see me engaged, you'll see me energized, you'll see me pronouncing onto other people, and you'll see them respond and integrate with me, engage with me in a way that not many others can do. And I'm aware of that, because that's what people tell me.
Yeah.
From the most important people tell me. So I suppose it's just to continue to do that. I've got so much more to do, so much more to achieve, like in my life, that there's no stopping, and if people don't want me in the circle, then they're going to have to physically remove me from the circle, But yeah, I just see myself continuing the journey that I'm on, and continuing to influence, hopefully in the way that I do, and continuing to support, you mentioned it earlier, the people without a voice.
Yes.
And I've got that privilege to have a voice, and whether people listen or not, it's up to them. But I've got that voice to be able to talk on behalf of many who would never be listened to, people wouldn't even give them a second thought,
No.
So outside of everything I've shared, I'm good, and I'll continue to be good, because I think I do a good job.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. And I've learned so much about you today as a human being. And I said a little while ago, and we had a little break, and I said to you, like, I wish there was adults around like you for me when I was growing up. And I know that the children that you've worked with will feel the same. And I know that you've probably never realised it, but you always needed a Troy, and you are so valuable in this world where we feel so disconnected.
Yeah.
And again, this is what I said to you originally, like, I want people to be able to connect to you.
Yeah.
I want them to be able to connect to you, because I think they're not going to get necessarily the experience of having you as their coach, as their mentor. They're not even maybe going to ever see you speak.
Yeah.
But if they can hear you and go, well, I mean, I am wowed. I genuinely am. And we walk, I say this all the time, but we walk past people in the street and we have no idea what's happened to them or what they're going through. And I just wish people would be more understanding and kinder and just more compassionate and just really connect again. And I think hearing you today, for me, has been an absolute privilege. Beyond any, and I'll be honest, and I don't want to offend anybody, but beyond anybody I've spoken to, you have just got so much that you have already given and that you're going to continue to give. And it's a privilege and an honor for me to sit here with you today.
Appreciate that.
And thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, for getting me here, and for getting me to be authentic. So
thank you again, and enjoy your meal later.
I will do.